if you want to navigate using the stars, a key component is finding Polaris, the North Star. Stay tuned. Okay, so Polaris. It's a North Star. So if we can find this star in amongst all the others, then we know which direction is north. Absolutely huge. So, how do we do that? Well, one of the ways to do that is to find the other constellations that are nearby. Because remember, all the stars revolve around Polaris. Okay? So, they're going to be nearby. You just don't know what angle they're on. You just have to look nearby and you'll find one of these constellations. It's going to be around the wheel of the North Star for sure. Now, one of them is incredibly common. A lot of people know about it. It's called Ursa Major. It's also called Big Bear. It's also called the Big Dipper. So the Big Dipper looks something like this. Something like that. Now you notice that the last two form a line right to Polaris. So that's a real easy way to find Polaris. If you can find the Big Dipper, no matter where it is in its revolution going around counterclockwise around Polaris, these two stars are always going to be facing it. It's always going to be facing Polaris, making a line to it. So no matter where it is, if you can draw a line, you're going to be pretty close to Polaris. Okay, so now, almost on the exact opposite side, just a little shy of it, there's another constellation called Cassiopeia. It looks something like this. Three and two. So it looks kind of like a W or an M, depending on how you look at it. Now, what you want to do is basically look at this star and how these other two are in front of it. You can make a straight line in between them. That will be just north of it. Okay? So what I like to do is just remember that direction. Just like that. Except I go from the bottom star. So if I go from the bottom star, it puts me pretty close to Polaris. Puts me pretty close. I mean, it's almost dead on, but Cassiopeia is not dead on like the Big Dipper is. Big Dipper, it's like a straight line. You run right into it. No issues. Cassiopeia is off a tiny bit. And again, as it goes around, it's the same exact situation. This whole thing just turns like this, you know? So if it was like over here somewhere, it would just be, you know, the bottom would be here, and we have those two. It looks something like that. So again, if you follow a straight line, gets you close. If you go by the bottom one, pretty much puts it on. Just a tiny bit off. It's like a degree or two off. It's not really that big of a deal. So Big Dipper, Cassiopeia. Very easy ways to find Polaris. Now there's actually a third constellation that I use, and I don't use it that often because Big Dipper is pretty much a dead giveaway right away. It's the easiest one for me to see. I usually just use Cassiopeia as verification of Big Dipper to make sure that everything is as it should be. You know, I check to see if I can see it on basically the opposite side. If everything checks out, I know I'm definitely looking at the North Star, and I'm good to go. But actually, the North Star is part of its own grouping as well. So let's talk about that now. Okay, so we have Polaris, the North Star. Now Polaris is actually part of a group of stars that's called Ursa Minor or Little Bear, or the Little Dipper. Okay? So it has a very similar shape to the Big Dipper, but the handle is a different shape. So the handle, say this is North Star Polaris right there. It's the last star on the handle. And we have something that looks like this. And then like that. Little Dipper. So it has a curve. And it has a Little Dipper at the end. And now one of the tricks is that this arch, if you keep following it, you should run into the Big Dipper's last handle. How cool is that? So that would make it something like this. So there's our Big Dipper. Pointing to Polaris. And if we follow the Little Dipper's handle, we end up at the last of the handle of the Big Dipper. So this is what it looks like. So we have the Little Dipper. You just follow that arch all the way down. Keep following it, and you'll run into the last star in the handle of the Big Dipper, which of course points at Polaris. So that gives us three. We have the Big Dipper, we have Cassiopeia on the opposite side, and the Little Dipper. Gives us three constellations that work together so we can find the North Star Polaris. Okay, so just to finish the trifecta, Cassiopeia will be somewhere around here. Now the bottom star is slightly above the North Star, so the bottom star should be about here. And there we have it. You follow the bottom star in the same direction as perpendicular to the other two. And I'll put you right on top of Polaris. So that's all three. So to round it up, look at Polaris, the North Star. You use the Big Dipper, or you can use Cassiopeia, or you can use its own Little Dipper. Yeah, so a really good book for this technique is The Stars Guide by Golden Guide. They have this technique where they show, like right here, a prominent constellation, like this is the Big Dipper, and they show other constellations in relation to it, you know, how lines are made to find other constellations. And that's the one that I showed you earlier to find Polaris right there. Cassiopeia is on the other side. So it's really, really cool, you know, and it has them individually as well. Here's Ursa Major right here, Big Dipper, arrow going to Polaris. So the circumpolar constellations, and also shows Orion. That's another prominent one. There it is right there. So you can find everything that's nearby Orion as well. So anyways, really cool book. It has some useful info like that right there, you know, because then you can start, you know, really knocking out a whole bunch of constellations very accurately, because you find one prominent one that's easy to find. I mean, who doesn't know Big Dipper and Orion, you know? And you find all the ones around it. And obviously you want to use it for navigation as much as possible. Pretty cool little book. Okay, so this is a great way to find the North Star, especially because using more than one constellation to do it. So maybe the Big Dipper might be visible, but Cassiopeia won't be, vice versa. Little Dipper, things like that. Little Dipper is not as bright as the others, so you're not going to see it as easy as, say, the Big Dipper. but it's great for verification. And you never know, you might see that one instead of not the others, right? So by knowing 3 different constellations, it really gives you a nice little toolbox to find the little star. And this can be a great technique that can really ease your anxiety and relax you, especially if you're lost, you know? So you got lost and night has arrived, you did all the right things, you know, okay, I know I'm lost, you know, you mark your position, you built the shelter because you move in a positive direction. Okay, I'm going to relax, I'm going to build a fire, I'm going to build a shelter, I know I'm going to stay out here all night, things like that, right? In that night, knowing this can help you get your bearings, right? So you can start to kind of piece together, you know, what may have happened or what direction you think that you should be going in the morning. And of course, when you see the sun, you know, it's just going to help tie it all together, you know, because then you can use your solar navigation in conjunction with what you learned the night before, you know, so you're putting all these pieces together, and it really it's just information gathering, you know, because what does lost mean? Lost means I don't know what I should know, you know, it's I think I know where I am, but I'm wrong. Well, that means there's a lack of information there because you don't know where you are, right? So the first thing you start doing is gathering information, right? You know, you want to start gathering, and that night you can be doing this, right? So it's just an easy way to do it by constellations and using the relationship in between them. This has been Mission Native Survival. Appreciate your views, comments, and your support. See you in the next one. Take care.